Hi, welcome to Cognitive Challenging for Managing Your Anxiety. This is the cognitive triangle. This is a visual representation of a very quick set of mental processes that occur when a situation happens that causes intense distress or feelings. For example, if we start with a situation like my romantic partner says that they will call me at 8, but they don't. Your thoughts might be, oh no, something's wrong. He's had an accident, or maybe they're with someone else. They don't want me to know. Maybe they're cheating on me. Your feelings would be worried, scared, sad, angry, nervous. Other feelings, which are physical representations of the emotion, would be maybe tightness in your chest or sweat on your neck, flush on your face. The behaviors that result from this might be something like texting him or her or they until they don't respond. Oh, I just fucked that up. Checking their location, texting the person until they respond. Those set of behaviors, when, let's say, the person doesn't respond, might lead to more thoughts. He's definitely cheating on me. He's definitely cheating on me with that coworker he likes to get drinks with after work. And then that leads to a set of feelings: increased worry, anger, fear, increased physical sensations, stomach pains, chest tightness. Then that leads to another set of behaviors: call of his friends until one of them tells you where he is. How to apply the cognitive triangle to a distressing moment. There are 5 steps to applying the cognitive triangle to managing your anxiety. Step 1 is to observe. You're going to observe your thoughts, your feelings, and your behaviors. Step 2 is to self-soothe. Step 3 is to analyze the facts of the situation. Step 4 is to make a plan. And step 5 is to execute the plan. Step 1 is observing. You need to observe the situation that's triggering the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, the thing that's distressing you. So you have to ask yourself, what's actually happening? I suggest writing this down in your notes app, or if you have a journal, a notebook, or even just a piece of paper. Getting it down and recording it is very important, because when you observe, you're going to eventually go over the observations that you've made. Next, you need to observe your thoughts. And sometimes people will say, but I'm not thinking anything, or I have no idea what I'm thinking, or I feel so overwhelmed that I have no idea what my thoughts actually are. In this case, if that's you, do your very best. You might write down something like, my thoughts are, I'm freaking out, I'm overwhelmed, I can't handle it. That's fine too. Whatever you can capture is good enough. If possible, when you are observing your thoughts, see if any one of them feels particularly intense or distressing or hot or sticky, meaning that it's something that causes a little bit more emotion or even physical sensation than the others. And if you can, if you're recording it, circle that thought or highlight it. This step is not essential, but it actually can be quite helpful when we get to the analyze step. Next, observe your feelings. What's coming up for you in this moment? What feelings and emotions are you having? Do you feel scared or sad? Are you nervous or excited? List them all. You can include any physical sensations you're experiencing as well. Sometimes the thoughts and feelings are hard to distinguish. Someone might write down, I feel like the world is ending. And yeah, that's a thought, but there's some kind of emotion with that too. So make sure that you tease out that emotion. I feel like the world is ending. It sounds like fear and worry. Just be sure to be able to capture your feelings and your emotions. Any physical sensations, tightness of chest, stomach pains, be sure to include all of that too. Now you want to observe your behaviors. What are you doing? What behaviors, what actions are you doing as a result of these feelings and thoughts? Or even, it might be hard to distinguish. You may be doing all these things seemingly at the same time.
All right, we should go.
After we observe our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, it's time to check in with our level of anxiety and distress. You might want to rank that on a scale of 0 to 10. Regardless of how high or low it is, you can take a moment to self soothe. You can try one of these techniques: diaphragmatic breathing, five senses awareness, progressive muscle relaxation. There are others. These are the, in my opinion, these are some of the easiest to do and most effective. Diaphragmatic breathing is basically you would put your hands kind of where your diaphragm is, which is right below your chest. And you're going to take an inhale in through your nose and feel your rib cage expand. And when you exhale, you're going to exhale out of your mouth. Inhale and exhale. And I recommend doing about 3 rounds of 5 breaths. The five senses awareness is basically slowing down, and I like to think of in my surroundings, okay, what are 4 things I see? What are 3 things I hear? You can hear the birds right now. That's one of them. 2 things I can touch, could be your phone, and you want to like take a minute and just run your fingers over it, stay and just get in touch with the sensations. 2 things you can taste. For example, I'm drinking tea this morning. And then 1 thing you can smell. Another one is progressive muscle relaxation. And basically, you're going to start with your toes and work your way all the way up your body. And you're going to, for example, you'll start by curling your toes under and taking an inhale. And when you exhale, release. And you'll do that all the way up your body. All of this is designed to bring the parasympathetic nervous system online and to take you back into the present moment and ease some of that excessive distress. Now that you're a little bit calmer and you're more present and more in your body, it's time to examine the facts of the situation. And you can do this by listing just in your journal or your notes app or on a piece of paper, just as long as you can see it in front of you. If, as you're writing the facts, you begin to write, I feel, for example, with our example from the beginning, I feel like my romantic partner was being shady. That's not a fact. However, if you say, my romantic partner was flirting with their coworker and coming home later and later over the last 2 weeks, then that's a fact. What you want to make sure you do is you include evidence to support that hot thought, but also to refute it. So if your hot thought is, my romantic partner is cheating on me because he doesn't love me anymore, then you need to make sure that those facts that you're putting down support and refute that. If your hot thought is, my romantic partner is cheating on me, and that's it, period, same thing. As long as these facts support the hot thought, the thing that is causing the most distress. If you're not sure what your hot thought is and you're just kind of still a little bit all over the place, it's fine. None of this has to be perfect. What are the facts? What are the things that are actually true, not just what you feel? Now that you have observed your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that have resulted from the situation that caused distress, and you've listed the facts of the situation, you can approach the next step from a more grounded place. So now it's time to ask yourself, did I really just need to self-soothe and regulate my body? Or is there an actual solvable problem? Is there a thing that's going on here? Conflict, an actual thing that's happening. If after you have written down the facts, there's simply just not enough evidence to support that your romantic partner is in fact cheating on you, and that's actually, there's not enough evidence, you want to work on, okay, what do I need? And maybe all you need to do is self-soothe. The self-soothing is really about caring for yourself. Now, this is tricky because this involves another person. So maybe it does mean you have a conversation with your romantic partner, but you're going to do so now from a much more grounded place. The key is to not be accusatory, to not be defensive, but to express that, you're having anxiety and come from a place of that this is your issue, not that they're actually doing anything, but that you're having an issue, you're having a problem. And so the real thing here is the reason why analyzing your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors is so important is because you want to determine, is this a me thing? Is this just me? And if it's me, the answer is self-soothe, as well as perhaps in the situation, a conversation with your romantic partner. And maybe that conversation includes educating them about how you have become distressed and you're trying to work on that. Because sometimes in those behaviors that result from a distressing situation, especially like this, you may lash out at your romantic partner and they're going to be very confused because they haven't done anything wrong. So the last step in this whole process is to take action and put together a plan and execute it. But by this point, you are calmer and you can proceed mindfully and more calmly. And this is going to make the next part come from a healthier place, and you're not going to just be reacting from some set of overwhelming emotions, but more from a grounded place. So if you realize by the end of the process that you actually had nothing to be concerned about your romantic partner, then you need to work on continuing to self-soothe. That could mean, in addition to all those exercises, maybe you need to do some journaling, talk to your therapist, go outside, continue to look within and try to keep yourself in your body and release those feelings and emotions in a way that's mindful and healthy. You want to work on continuing to regulate your nervous system rather than aggravate it. On the other hand, if you realize by the end of this that your suspicions about your romantic partner are actually quite possible and warranted, then you need to have that conversation. You need to take action and confront that person, but you're going to do so from a more calm and rational place. For me, reviewing the facts, even going back, sometimes I'll create like a facts card and reviewing those facts over a couple of times before I proceed onward can really help me personally, especially because it's easy to have, even after all this, the urge to say, but I feel like he, she, they are, etc., etc. The one thing that you need to remind yourself is that feelings are not facts. And if we act on intense, distressful feelings in a moment like this, where it's really not warranted, it can really cause distress for yourself, additional distress for yourself and your relationship and your interactions with others. A final word on cognitive challenging. I just want to note that this process can be hard because it's a little bit tedious and it can take some time to feel automatic, and that can be very frustrating, and it can feel um, sort of like, is this even working? And I think that the reason why that can happen is that people sometimes who suffer from anxiety have a tendency to need things to be black and white, perfect, and this is not that process. This is a good enough process. So if you aren't 100% sure, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? It's whatever, it's good enough. It doesn't have to be perfect. I don't want you to overthink those parts. And I just want you to sort of get the essence of what's happening written down and recorded for yourself so you can do the analysis part of what are the facts, versus what am I feeling. Okay, let's put all of the steps of cognitive challenging together using the same example from the beginning of this lesson. I'm going to walk through two examples with two different hot thoughts. Remember, the hot thought is the one that causes the most distress and is the one that you will pull out and challenge with facts that both support and refute that thought. Also, remember, after you write down the situation, thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, and you pull out the hot thought, take a moment to self soothe and attempt to regulate yourself before moving on to the step where we examine the facts. Okay, so here we go. Our first example. Again, the situation is the person that I'm dating hasn't responded to my last text message in 8 hours. Thoughts. They're usually responsive. What if they're mad at me? What if they don't want to date me anymore? Here I go again with someone who doesn't want me. Why does this always happen? I'm such a loser because no one wants to date me. Feelings. Scared, sad, angry, and confused. Feelings. I just said that. Behaviors. Checking my phone over and over, checking social media, checking their social media to see if I can figure out where they are and what they're doing, replaying our last date over and over and analyzing it to see what I did wrong. A note on the behaviors. Notice that behaviors can be both physical. So, for example, checking the social media over and over again is a physical action, but other actions and behaviors can be purely mental, replaying the date over and over again in your mind, analyzing it back and forth to see what you did wrong. What is the hot thought? As you can see in red, the hot thought is, I'm a loser because no one wants to date me. That's clearly the thought that's the most distressing. It's personalizing this entire situation, calling yourself a name. It really is the one that, if you really think about it, that is the one that's the most hurtful. So what we're going to do, if you can see, I make a note at this point, we're going to self-soothe. So what might that look like? So maybe I'm going to just take a couple of deep breaths. I'm going to do some of that diaphragmatic breathing where you put your hands on your rib cage and you inhale and exhale. And I recommend taking like 2 to 5 deep breaths. After we do some self-soothing, now we're going to analyze and figure out what are the facts to support the hot thought. Again, the hot thought is, I'm a loser because no one wants to date me. So one fact is the last 2 people I dated broke up with me. And that is a fact. Also, another fact, this person that I'm currently dating is not texting me back. These are facts. Whether or not they truly support the hot thought, that's another story, but they are facts. Facts to refute the hot thought. I don't think other people are losers who don't date or have trouble dating. People have wanted to date me. I've broken up with some of the previous people. Also, this person isn't ever timely with their texts, so this could actually be nothing. So if you notice, there's far more thoughts that refute the hot thought than support it. Just note that. So the next step at this point, is this a solvable problem or do I need to self-soothe? And after analyzing, especially after looking at the refuting the hot thought, I need to self-soothe because nothing's actually wrong right now. I just feel scared and insecure. So feelings are not facts. Feelings are feelings. They're real, but they don't equal that something, meaning that this person is not interested in me or I'm a loser. None of that actually means it's happening. So example 2 is exactly the same as example 1, except the line of thinking doesn't end with, I'm a loser because no one wants to date me. It ends with, this person doesn't want to date me anymore. So notice, like, this is a little bit more about the actual thing that's happening. So there is a chance that this hot thought could in fact be proven to be true. So if we go skip down to the hot thought is, this person doesn't want to date me anymore. Facts to support this hot thought. The last 2 people I dated broke up with me. This person isn't texting me back. So it's the same evidence as the previous one. And it fits. It certainly does. Again, there's more to the story, but it does. Facts to refute. I didn't really like the last 2 people and was relieved when it ended. Also, just because I have been broken up with before doesn't automatically mean that's going to happen again. And that's an important refuting thought. Also, this person isn't ever timely with their text, so this could be nothing. We just talked yesterday, and this person asked me to go on another date. So notice there's quite a bit of evidence to really refute this hot thought that this person doesn't want to date me anymore. So, is this a solvable problem, or do I need to self-soothe? Clearly, you need to self-soothe, because it's a you thing. It's not an actual thing. So, this is a good example of where that hot thought can be quite possibly true. I mean, this could be true, but again, looking at that evidence, it's not. So, here's a bonus tool working with negative thinking styles. Hot thoughts are typically, but not always, negative thinking styles. For example, I'm a loser because no one wants to date me could be an example of emotional reasoning. What this is saying is that I feel like a loser, therefore nobody would want to date me. The assumptions are based on a bad feeling about myself. And the other hot thought, the person doesn't want to date me anymore, is tied to the fact that the person hasn't texted back. But this would be an example of personalization. The fact that the person hasn't texted back doesn't automatically mean it is about me. And yet, in that thought, I'm jumping to that. So if you take a look at the examples of these negative thinking styles or cognitive distortions, you'll notice that the examples overlap with each other. But the point of understanding these is that they can help you identify when you're thinking in a way that is likely distorting the truth or the facts of what is actually happening. When you're looking at your thoughts, you can label the ones that are one of these negative thinking styles, and that will immediately alert you to the fact that that thought is likely not one that you should buy into.